Announcing the arrival of Yang Berhormat Gobind, Minister of Digital. Ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing for the national anthem. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Before we begin our formal events today, I would like to invite Tuan Muhammad Faizun bin Haji Abdul Salam to lead the prayer recitation.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin. Wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. All praise be to Allah, Lord of the worlds, Al-Aziz the Almighty, Al-Hakim the All-Wise. On this blessed day, we gather in unity and gratitude to seek your divine blessings upon this significant occasion, the official launch of the National Cloud Computing Policy. O Allah Al-Alim, the All-Knowing, we thank you for bestowing upon us vision, knowledge, and the opportunity to advance our nation towards innovation, efficiency, and digital excellence. O Allah Al-Hadi, the Guide, endow our leaders, policymakers, and all stakeholders with wisdom, foresight, and integrity, enabling them to chart a course that brings sustainable growth, fortified security, and enduring prosperity for our beloved Malaysia. Bless this policy, Ya Allah, and let it flourish as a pillar of our nation's progress, driving innovation, empowering talent, and opening new horizons of opportunity. May it cultivate a digital ecosystem that is secure, inclusive, and resilient, bringing enduring benefit to every citizen and positioning Malaysia as a leader on the global stage. Instill in us unity, mutual respect, and unwavering cooperation, empowering us to build a future where technology uplifts humanity, strengthens communities, and safeguards the noble values of trust, responsibility, and respect. O Allah Al-Hafiz, the Protector, shield our nation from harm, guide us in every endeavor, and grant us lasting success under your mercy and protection. Allahumma ja'al jam'ana hadha jam'an marhuma, وتفرقنا من بعده تفرقا معصوما ولا تجعل اللهم فينا ولا معنا ولا من يتبعنا شقيا ولا مطرودا ولا محروما ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم والحمد لله رب العالمين.
Thank you, Tuan Faizun, for the doa recitation. Yang Berhormat Gobind Minister of Digital Malaysia, Yang Berhormat Datuk Wilson Uga Anak Kumbung, Deputy Minister of Digital Malaysia, Yang Berbahagia Tuan Fabian Bigar, Secretary General of the Minister of Digital, Distinguished Secretaries General, Deputy Secretaries General of Ministries, Distinguished Asian Member Countries Representatives, esteemed heads and deputy heads of departments, Your Excellencies, State Secretaries and ESCO members, respected representatives from academia, valued representatives from global industry, respected ministry heads of departments and agencies, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh, salam sejahtera and salam Malaysia Madani. Today marks a significant milestone in our nation's journey towards becoming a leading digital powerhouse. The National Cloud Computing Policy, or NCCP, is a crucial strategic framework that will guide Malaysia's digital future. It is designed to formally introduce and raise widespread awareness of Malaysia's commitment to advancing our digital landscape. The theme for today's event, Powering Malaysia's Digital Future, Sovereign, Sustainable and Secure, perfectly encapsulates the vision behind this policy. The NCCP is set to position Malaysia at the forefront of cloud technology and innovation, playing a pivotal role in accelerating our digital economy. Now, it is with great pleasure that I invite Yang Berbahagia Tuan Fabian Bigar, Secretary General of the Ministry of Digital, to deliver his welcoming remark. Please welcome.
Okey, Yang Berhormat Tuan Gobind Singh, Minister of Digital Malaysia, Yang Berhormat Datuk Wilson Uga Anak Kumbung, Deputy Minister of Digital Malaysia, Your Excellencies, ASEAN Ministers and Heads of Delegation, my fellow colleagues from the Civil Service, Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Salam sejahtera and salam Malaysia Madani and a very good morning. It is my distinct honor to stand before you today, not just to witness, but to formally usher a new era for our nation's digital landscape. The launch of the National Cloud Computing Policy, or NCCP, it sounds very weird, CCP, but anyway, marks a defining moment for the Ministry of Digital. It is more than a policy. It is the physical manifestation of our strategic vision and mission, embodying the Madani principles of building secure, inclusive, and sustainable cloud futures for Malaysia. The Ministry of Digital was formed with a clear and ambitious mandate to guide Malaysia's digital transformation not as a passive participant, but as a leading digital hub in the ASEAN region. Our mission is to build an ecosystem that is secure, resilient, and inclusive, ensuring technology serves every Malaysian and drives our national progress through the fourth industrial revolution. The NCCP is a comprehensive framework that supports the goals of the 13 Malaysia Plan by driving a secure, trusted digitalization of the nation. As a living document that evolves with technological advancement, the NCCP's 5 core pillars are strategically aligned to contribute to RMK13's focus on economic resilience, sustainability, and inclusive growth, while upholding the fundamental principles of data sovereignty. Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I think I will just mention some of the strategic pillars under the plan and the policy. Pillar number 1 is to enhance public sector transformation. This pillar modernizes government services through a mandatory cloud-first approach, ensuring all public sector agencies prioritize cloud computing solutions in their procurement decisions. This transformation improves efficiency, transparency, and responsiveness, directly contributing to RMK13's objective of enhancing public service delivery. For example, cloud-enabled disaster response systems can now provide real-time data integration across agencies, enabling faster coordination during floods and more efficient traffic management in our urban centers. Pillar number 2, that is to nurture private sector growth. By fostering innovation and competitiveness through sovereign cloud infrastructure and multi-tier certification frameworks for cloud service providers, this pillar aims to boost economic growth, attract investments, and help businesses, particularly MSMEs, to expand their operations and compete regionally and globally. This aligns with RMK13's goal of empowering SMEs and driving regional competitiveness through a robust cloud ecosystem. An example of how cloud-based inventory systems can help small businesses like local chili sauce producers to manage stocks efficiently and access new markets across Southeast Asia. Pillar number 3, secure data protection and privacy. This pillar strengthens data security frameworks through zero trust strategies and ensure compliance with data protection laws while asserting Malaysia's data sovereignty. All data generated within Malaysia remains subject to Malaysian laws, and critical data requiring physical residency within our borders. This pillar builds public trust in digital platforms and provides the secure foundation needed for digital services to thrive, thereby contributing to RMK13's objectives of economic resilience and inclusive growth. Pillar number 4, digital inclusivity. This pillar addresses the digital divide by expanding cloud infrastructure to underserved and rural areas, promoting digital literacy and ensuring affordable cloud solutions for essential services like healthcare and education. This ensures the benefits of digital transformation reach all Malaysians, from rural teachers in Sarawak, assessing quality educational content to remote centers in Sabah, leveraging smart booking systems, aligning with RMK13's emphasis on inclusive growth and equitable access to opportunities. Pillar number 5, environmental sustainability. This pillar provides resource-efficient and environmentally friendly cloud practices, including green data centers powered by renewable energy, sustainable infrastructure development, and comprehensive environmental standards for cloud operations. This directly supports RMK13's focus on sustainability and aligns with the national vision for a low-carbon, environmentally responsible future, enabling smart energy management and reduced carbon footprints across industries. Ladies and gentlemen, after the official launch of the NCCP, the focus shifts from policy creation to implementation. As a living document without a fixed duration, the NCCP will continuously evolve to address emerging technologies and challenges. The next step is to develop a detailed action plan with clear, measurable deliverables and timelines, supported by robust governance structures and regulatory framework. The plan will use predictive measures and key performance indicators to proactively monitor progress and adapt to the evolving technological landscape, ensuring a data-driven approach. The government's vision, as outlined in the Malaysia Digital Economy Blueprint and the NCCP, and more recently the AI Nation Ambition of the 13 Malaysia Plan, or RMK13, is to build a modern, progressive Malaysia for the digital age that is innovative, sustainable, and inclusive. The Ministry of Digital is committed to a cloud-first approach for government services to enhance efficiency and create a trusted and secure digital environment for everyone. These policies are crucial for Malaysia's long-term economic sustainability and resilience. The goal is to establish Malaysia as a leading digital hub in the ASEAN region, where businesses including SMEs and startups, can leverage cloud technology to innovate and compete regionally. Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, and ladies and gentlemen, this policy, our Ministry's very first, is the foundational pillar upon which we will build the future. It is with immense pride that I will highlight the NCCP's development journey, which was a true whole-of-nation effort. Our team developed this policy entirely in-house with zero external cost, demonstrating our commitment to building indigenous capabilities. This process involved comprehensive engagements with a diverse array of stakeholders across all sectors, including industry leaders, academia, legal advisors, and civil society representatives. Their invaluable input and collaboration result in a robust, well-informed policy that truly reflects our nation's collective aspirations for secure, sovereign, inclusive, and sustainable cloud futures. We extend our gratitude to everyone who contributed to this significant achievement. I would also like to extend a special acknowledgement and sincere gratitude to Futurize Sdn Bhd for their invaluable collaboration in the development of this document. This partnership exemplifies the spirit of collaboration that extends beyond the ministry's walls and embodies the whole-of-nation approach, essential for our digital transformation. It is an honor to be here today for a momentous milestone in Malaysia's digital journey, the official launch of the National Cloud Computing Policy. This policy represents our commitment to the Madani vision and our determination to build a digitally empowered Malaysia. It's not just a government directive. It is a strategic blueprint that will guide our nation through a secure, inclusive, sustainable cloud future, positioning Malaysia as a leader in the ASEAN digital economy. Thank you.
Thank you, Yang Berbahagia Tuan Fabian Begar, for your welcoming remark. Ladies and gentlemen, it is now my honor to invite Yang Berhormat Gobind, the Minister of Digital, to deliver his keynote address. Please welcome Yang Berhormat Minister of Digital.
Terima kasih saya ucapkan kepada dari Hasriza, Datuk Wilson, juga anak kumbung, Deputy Minister, Ministry of Digital, Tuan Fabian Begar, Secretary General, Ministry of Digital, members of the ASEAN delegations, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, salam perpaduan, salam Malaysia Madani, and a very good morning to all of you. Terlebih dahulu, izinkan saya mengambil kesempatan untuk mengucapkan setinggi-tinggi penghargaan kepada semua kerana dapat hadir pada acara yang cukup bermakna, iaitu lancaran polisi baru kita pada pagi ini. It's indeed an honor for me to be here before all of you for this momentous milestone in Malaysia's digital journey, which is the official launch of National Cloud Computing Policy. Ladies and gentlemen, we live in a world in which we are exposed to new technology almost every day. Each and every one of us here, while we move in the daily chores of our lives, we are exposed to what technology presents. As you drive in your cars, you listen to programs about technology. You listen to discussions about AI. You listen to discussions about how this technology benefits all of us and how it will develop as we go along. There is this ambition by all countries to try as far as we possibly can to adopt this technology. And as I said in my address yesterday, the Malaysian government is now looking towards building an ecosystem that will sustain new technology. So imagine looking at diagrams which talk to you about how data becomes pivotal today. From 10 years ago, the amount of data that we used in technology, as opposed to the volume of data today, looking at the technology today. And then there are also predictions as to where we think we will be in the next 5 to 10 years. And the kind of data that we will require to sustain this new technology, which will become part and parcel of our lives. Technology will change from AI to Gen AI. Today we are talking about agentic AI. We can expect technology to change and change fast moving into the future. So for a country that aspires to be a leader in this field, we as government must think about how we can not just encourage awareness, but also encourage adoption. If we can encourage adoption, we can understand the fact that in future, if we have a whole country that is using technology, then the dynamics behind how it is we are able to provide the country with services becomes a priority discussion for us. What do? We have to move away from conversations and build an ecosystem that will support new technology. We have data centers, investments that have been made, and we see these data centers being built. In the last 18 months, announcements, confidence expressed by countries around the world as to Malaysia's digital ambition. We see many of the leaders in data centers choosing Malaysia as a destination. We see work beginning on the data centers in various parts in Malaysia. Then we start talking about ensuring that it is safe. We speak to you about data. We talk to you about its power. At the same time, we appreciate and accept that there is so much that needs to be done so that we can properly digitize the data that we have so that it can be used for digital solutions. So insofar as the Ministry of Digital is concerned, these are conversations that we have on a daily basis. How do you strategize the way forward? Building data centers is one part of it. Looking to digitize data that we have is another part of it. When you digitize the data, you need to look at how it can be stored efficiently. And when it is stored, you have to start looking at how it can actually be used in the sense that it can be shared so that solutions that depend on data can be developed. If there is this process of sharing, you want to make sure that data that is shared is safe. Elements of security, privacy dealt with. Now, if you're able to do that and understand that that is where you will see the power of real digital transformation, then you will also understand that there's a need for us to think about how we can move away from traditional ways of storing data, which was on-prem solutions, to what we have before us today, which is cloud. Now, this is something that is more than just a conversation. My ministry looks at it as an enabler. If you are able to put all of these blocks together, then we will see the country transform into a nation that is able to now invite all its people to partake in this journey of digital transformation. Now, this is the reason why I have said, and I repeat again, it is important for us to understand what the country needs in the next 5 to 10 years. Plan it now. Take the right steps so that whatever it is we design will become something that is not just sustainable, but one that benefits the country as a whole. Now imagine, speaking about smart cities, or now AI cities, as my ministry would term it. We want to look at a country in which we have autonomous vehicles. We want to look at a country in which you have surveillance systems that show you how cars travel on roads. If there's an incident that occurs along the way, you want to be able to, in real time, visualize what has happened. Post-incident, you want to be able to call on cameras in the vicinity to give you footage leading to that incident so that you're able to analyze very quickly who was at fault and what needs to be done next. Now, if you're able to visualize and you have the CCTVs that show you where the incident occurred, for example, in the event of an accident, you want to also have details and data of the emergency services in the area. So now you look to data about police stations in that radius, perhaps 100 meters around where the incident occurred. You also look for clinics in that area, hospitals which have ambulances in the event there was an incident which requires medical treatment urgently. If you're able to put all that data together, you find that you have built a system where things are much more efficient. You do things a lot faster. The moment there's an incident, using AI and the footage that you have, you're able to tell who is responsible for that incident, whether or not there's a need for the police to attend to the scene in order to get things done, and ultimately, if there's someone in need of medical help, then immediately the nearest clinic is identified, the nearest hospital is identified, ambulance services are deployed. If there's a person that needs urgent treatment, he is taken to the right hospital. If you can create a smart ambulance, the preliminary treatment is conducted in the ambulance whilst he is in his journey to the hospital. And when he reaches the hospital, the right doctors are on standby to treat him. If there's a need for an operation, the operation theaters are available. And that is where you see the true strength and impact of technology. It changes how we did things in the past. It raises us to a level in which we see things done a lot faster. And we see how it benefits us. That in respect of smart cities. The same system that you use to capture that data can be used to also analyze traffic, can be used to also look at areas that are accident prone, so that we can understand why it is those areas accident prone, take steps to fix the character of the roads in that area so that we can mitigate that. When it comes to floods, for example, you are able now to plan ahead. You look at how it is, you can build cities where you have sensors in place, so that where water levels rise, there is data to that effect. You are then alerted about the fact that in the event there is a heavy downfall, the potential of that particular area flooding is very real. So you send people to look at it beforehand. So it can be fixed before there is a flood. And of course, if you can do that, you save people the inconvenience of having to deal with floods as and when it occurs. That in respect of smart cities. The same cameras can be used for the purpose of security, for police monitoring the streets that we live on, ensuring that when there is an incident, then immediate action is taken. They can also identify areas where we see a rise or a raised level of criminal activity, so that the police can focus on those areas so that we live in circumstances that are safer. When it comes to cleanliness, the same system can be used to identify areas where you find people disposing rubbish. Once that is identified, the proper services are sent to immediately deal with it. So you don't have weeks of rubbish building up as a result of which it becomes a problem. Not just in the sense of being an eyesore, but also in a health sense. Now, this is just one example of what technology can do. But the reason why that is important is because you need to understand that for all of that to work, you must have access to technology such as cloud. Because this is the technology that allows you to bring that data together. There is easier access to data. Data sets that are ordinarily not available to people because they are secured on on-prem systems are now available. So, as far as the government is concerned, we start with looking at our ministries. How do we make sure that we create a policy so that government agencies, be they at federal, state, or even local governments, start digitizing this data and move to cloud? You want to do that because you know that you are developing data centers that are going to give you the compute power. You are building legislation in Parliament that is going to ensure that there is safety, the NCII, Cybersecurity Act. You're looking at strengthening personal data protection, building data sharing mechanisms, as I said yesterday, so on and so forth. So if you have that in place now, next in the equation is ensuring that the data is stored in a place or using mechanisms that allow you to optimize the use of data. This is why this policy is key. And I pushed the ministry. I must take this opportunity to thank Jabatan Digital Negara. Saya memang ucapkan terima kasih, the hard work that they did, and also Futurize that helped. It's a combination of effort, understanding that the vision of the Prime Minister is to build a digital Malaysia and build a digital Malaysia which is sustainable and ready for next generation technology. We look at this policy of towards Malaysia Digital 2030. Now, if I just explain to you, giving you an example of smart cities, let's look at GovTech. We want to build a country in which services or government digital services are made a lot more convenient for people, cheaper. You do not have to line up in queues for hours to get government services, to get your passports renewed, licenses renewed, permits applied for, and what have you not. Now, in order for us to get this done, again, we have to look at the building blocks. There's a need for us to think about how new technology can help. And after we think about this, there's a need for us to build on that structure. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I will say this. The Prime Minister is very focused on ensuring that we not just follow in the footsteps of what needs to be done to become a digital nation, but we are also able to lead in certain areas. In his speech yesterday, he mentioned that. And he spoke about how it is we need to think about being a leader in digital transformation, particularly in the ASEAN context. If we look at countries around us, many are far ahead. Many have got challenges that they need to overcome in terms of connectivity and building infrastructure and so on and so forth. We must work together. And if we are able to work together, we learn from each other's experiences, and I think that's where the strength is. If you are now able to envision a world in which data exists, we pivot to cloud, and we are able to speak about sharing that data, not just here, locally, but regionally and even globally. You're going to be able to look at solutions that are built as a result of joint efforts of countries in the region and even globally. Things will move fast. We today live in a world where most of us rely on agents. We use ChatGPT. And as things go along, you look at virtual directors. You may even look at the concept of a virtual ministry in the near future. In order for that to happen, you can already imagine the amount of data and compute power that you require. If that be the case, you want to make sure that the data is stored in a manner that's easily optimizable, there's easy access to it. As I said, it is secure, and scale becomes key. If we are able to encourage every single Malaysian to transform themselves digitally, in the way they work, in the way they live, in the way they deal with government, you can imagine the spike in the demand for data, the spike in the demand for digital transformation as we go along. And I think that is why this event today is important. It is yet another event to show you that whilst we speak of digital transformation in this country, whilst our Prime Minister repeats how important it is to get things done, and we see that as recent as 2 weeks ago when he tabled the 13 Malaysia plan, we in the Ministry of Digital are making it real. We're ensuring that these conversations translate into action, and ultimately, from there, Malaysians are able to feel the true impact of digital transformation on their lives. So it is in that context, ladies and gentlemen, that I stand here today proud of Jabatan Digital Negara and of course Ministry of Digital. Don Fabian is here. We also have Don Siva in the crowd, and Shakib, my Deputy Secretary Generals, and my Deputy, Dr. Wilson, who has been pushing along with us to ensure that this transformation is done quickly. So we need to think about where we expect this country to be in the next 5 years, the next 10 years. RMK 13 is of course that new direction. The Prime Minister has envisioned an AI nation, and that can be done. We have the Smart City Expo in Kuala Lumpur next month on the 17th and the 18th. In that particular expo, there are two key areas we are looking at. One, developing a digital twin for the whole country. And for that purpose, we are leveraging on the strengths of all the states. I must thank my friend YB Fahmi, Exco from Negeri Selangor, who is here. He has been very supportive, a lot of ideas as well as to how it is we can incorporate what it is all the states have so that we can move faster. Thank you, Fahmi. We have, of course, a wakil daripada negeri-negeri lain as well. The second area that we want to look at is how we can develop policies that ensure that we are able to create autonomous vehicle networks. Because moving to the future, you're going to see more reliance on drones, vehicles that are able to operate independently, autonomously, even decide for themselves what needs to be done. And for that purpose, again, it comes back to data. It comes back to a network, connectivity, and in all of this, cloud. So ladies and gentlemen, I take this opportunity to thank the ministry for the work done. I'm happy that I'm able to be here today to launch the NCCP. And of course, in doing so, I think Fabian has gone through the key aspects of it. Let us ensure that whilst Malaysia speaks about digital transformation, we are able to craft very carefully all of that which will make this happen. And in the next 2 years, moving towards the end of RMK 13, actually deliver on what it is we have to do to transform Malaysia into a digital nation. Now, ladies and gentlemen, with that, let us move forward together with a whole-of-nation mindset, and that means building a digital future that is resilient, inclusive, and one that is globally competitive here in Malaysia. With the launch of this policy, again, I say, we strengthen our collective commitment to positioning Malaysia as a global leader in cloud technology. I urge every Malaysian government, industry, academia, civil society to embrace the opportunities cloud computing has to offer. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Yang Berhormat Minister, for your insightful address. May we kindly request that you remain on stage as we invite other distinguished guests, Yang Berhormat Deputy Minister and Yang Berbahagia Secretary General of the Ministry of Digital to join for the official launch gimmick. Yang Berhormat Minister, Yang Berhormat Deputy Minister and Yang Berbahagia Secretary General is kindly invited to the podium. Ladies and gentlemen, let's join us as we launch the National Cloud Computing Policy. Yang Berhormat Minister is respectfully invited to place a palm on the podium with the count 1, 2, 3, go!
Access granted.
Thank you, Yang Berhormat Minister, for gracing us with the official launch of the National Cloud Computing Policy. And now, Yang Berhormat Minister and distinguished guests are kindly invited to take their seats at the front of the stage. And now, let us together sit back and enjoy the montage video for our National Cloud Computing Policy NCCP launching today. Ladies and gentlemen, following the official launch, we will now to transit to our high-level forum session titled Beyond the Horizon, Charting Malaysia's Course as a Premier Cloud and Data Center Hub. This forum will bring together a panel of industry experts and thought leaders to explore the opportunities and challenges in the cloud and data center industry. We will also have a strategic discussion on the policy's impact and future industry outlook. It is my pleasure to introduce our moderator for this session, Mr. Kamles Kumar, Associate Director and Head of Malaysia Office at Asia Group Advisors. Joining him on the panel are Ms. Sue Ann Lim, Director of Government Affairs and Public Policy for Google Cloud Asia Pacific, Mr. Wing K. Lee, Chief Executive Officer of YTL Communications, and Ms. Adilah Junid, Director of Legal and Government Affairs at Microsoft Malaysia. And now, please welcome all the panelists and moderator on the stage.
Hello, good morning everyone. Thank you for joining us for today. It's a privilege to moderate Beyond the Horizon, Malaysia's course as a premier cloud and data center hub. My name is Kamles Kumar, and I'm the lead for Asia Group Advisors for Malaysia. The National Cloud Computing Policy sets a bold ambition to make Malaysia the region's premier cloud and data center hub. The NCCP is also a living document meant to adapt to a fast-moving technology, shifting markets, and evolving policy needs. Today, we'll unpack how to turn this ambition into action. We have a fantastic panel joining us today. Ms. Sue-Ann Lim, Director of Government Affairs and Public Policy for Google Cloud. Mr. Wing K. Lee, Chair of the Digital Infrastructure Chapter under PCOM and CEO of YTL Communications. And Ms. Adilah Junid, Director of Legal and Government Affairs of Malaysia, Microsoft Malaysia. Let's jump right in. First, how can Malaysia position itself as a premier cloud and data center hub in the region when we are up against established players like Singapore and emerging ones like Indonesia and Vietnam? What's our unique edge and what must happen to make this a reality? Sue-Ann, let's start with you.
Thank you so much, Kamles. And first of all, I just wanted to say a very big thank you to the Ministry of Digital for having us all here today. Congratulations, on the launch of the National Cloud Computing Policy. And thank you very much for the close partnership, with the private sector in the development of the policy. So, Kamles, to answer your question, how can Malaysia position itself as a premier cloud and data center hub regionally? So I think three key things are very important, right? So the first is the policy environment, of the country and how it endorses, technology adoption. Secondly, a cohesive decision-making framework across the government or whole of nation framework. And then thirdly, of course, which is talent and people, right, which underpins every great revolution that we have. So in terms of positive policy and regulatory environment, I think the cloud-first policy is a great starting point. I remember a time, when IT departments across many different countries, across the region were actually afraid, worried, concerned about how to adopt new technologies. So I think a policy document like this that guides adoption as well as secure usage of cloud is very key. Secondly, about cohesive decision-making framework. This is not always easy to do, but I think the government of Malaysia has really done a lot to sort of streamline decision-making processes, for cloud as well as data center providers. Thirdly, on talent, and finally, so of course what underpins every great movement is the people, and super important for the government to lead the way, right, in terms of how we invest in talent in Malaysia towards technology adoption. And Google is very proud of our partnership with the Ministry of Digital on the AI at Work program, which essentially brings the best of Google's technology in Google Workspace and Gemini to enhance public sector transformation for 445,000 civil servants. So, yeah.
Thank you so much for that, Sue-Ann. So now moving on to Wing. What lessons can Malaysia learn from our neighbors on managing digital sovereignty and data localization?
Got it. Good morning, everyone, and congratulations, YB, for the launch of SCCP. It's a wonderful articulation of the vision of the government to provide meaning and purpose to why we need cloud computing in this country. Now, when it comes to the neighboring countries, of course, the nearest one is down south, so I just use that as an example just to illustrate why this policy is so important. I have some friends at NUS, and they have obviously a fantastic hospital facility there, NUS Hospital, and what they've done is that they use virtual reality to examine the patient before they start operation. Because as a surgeon, the last thing you want is to open up the patient and say, oh my goodness, that would not be good. That will extend the time in the OT and also impact the recovery time because of the complication. So what they've done at NUS Hospital is that they do a proper scan of the patient and they upload into the cloud, of course, private cloud, sovereign data within Singapore soil. And they allow for all the specialists to connect to the cloud and see the 3D simulation of the patient's internals before they start the OT procedure. So when they go in, they already have a game plan knowing exactly what's going to be inside. As a result, they were able to reduce the recovery time by half, and most importantly, reduce the OT time, which is important as a resource for the nation. So as an example, if a neighboring country down south realized that patient information, medical record, especially this kind of very sensitive data, require sovereignty, I think we certainly can take a page from that playbook and making sure that all the sensitive data, not just the health data, but financial data, government data, so on and so forth, are parked within the Malaysian soil importantly. Secondly, is about latency. Obviously, before our hyperscaler friends start investing, and we YTL are also investing into this country in terms of building data center, the traffic will often go out of Malaysia, which means that you go for international circuit. Now, I'm a telco guy, so I know a few things about latency. Whenever you leave the Malaysian soil, latency goes up. When the latency goes up, ability to do real-time interaction would go down. Simple. In the age of AI, that is not acceptable, especially when you come to using APIs for AI interaction, even as simple as using chat window. You want to have quick response time. Latency is crucial. Now, because we have now data center investment both in Johor, in Kuala Lumpur, and so on, we're able to drastically reduce latency to access the cloud services, which means that when, let's just use my example, between our data center park in Johor and our KL facility, the latency is 7 milliseconds. From Penang, Meng is here, from Penang going all the way down to Kuala is only 12 milliseconds. That is amazing latency, which means that you literally have the computing resources at your fingertip without feeling any lag. And that is super important to make this computing capability real, accessible to all.
Thank you so much, Wing. Adilah, would you like to share your views on that?
Thank you so much. So again, I'd just like to join in congratulating the ministry on this amazing feat, producing this document that's super comprehensive. And just to add to the point that Wing was making about the concept of sovereignty, there's maybe 3 things that I'd like to add, which is that it's fantastic that we're now able to look at sovereignty beyond just having the infrastructure in country, but also what is the control that you have over the data that you have in order to make best use of it to benefit the users and the beneficiaries and recipients of the digital services that leverage on that data, right? So concept of sovereignty, not just beyond where the infrastructure is located, but also the amount of control you have over the data in terms of how it's used, security, and data protection elements of that, but also to the point that it's important to get the most use out of that data because really the cloud is there to enable you to create these benefits. And the way to do that, and this is fantastic that the cloud policy document is there to recognize that, is to have a risk-based approach to how you treat your data. So absolutely, certain data, the highest risk, should have different controls, and other data that perhaps is of a lower risk profile but can get more use out of the sort of like big data approaches to it can be placed differently and treated differently to get the most use of it. So I really look forward to this cloud policy document as being the basis of having that. And just to highlight a little bit about, you spoke about how we learn from other countries. So I think one of the things that we do see is in terms of how data is treated. Between 80 to 90% of data tends to be in the cloud precisely to get the full use of it, as YB Gobind said.
Thank you so much. That leads me to my next question. There's a fine line applies to governance, and how can Malaysia calibrate smart cloud regulation that protects without over-regulating and still keep investor confidence? Suen, can I have your views on this?
Sure. Thanks, Kamles. So I think the guiding principle is that when we look at regulation of cloud, and data, we should always be focusing on data security, right, and data sovereignty, not data location, as Adilah has said. So in today's cloud-first world, we can really enhance, our national security by shifting the focus from where the data is physically located to the strength, of digital protection. So true digital sovereignty, is best defined by whether an entity has sovereign control of the data. And this is best guaranteed in today's cloud-first world through world-class encryption, clear accountability, as well as very strong legal frameworks that protect our data to the highest global standards, wherever the data may be located.
Thank you so much. And talking about long-term vision, Wing, what are the upcoming technologies from edge computing to quantum-safe cloud to AI-native services will redefine how countries build and govern their digital infrastructure?
So for the most part, data center built has been air-cooled. I think air-cooled would have limited capability when it comes to the really heavy-duty, high-density workload that we're seeing, especially when it comes to GPU. So as an example, we have built a DC park in Johor, 500 megawatt, now it's 600 megawatt because of the efficiency of IT workload capability, 100% green. But importantly, what we built there, together with NVIDIA, is an AI cloud using the latest GB200 superchip. Now, GB200 is super chip, but it's also super hot. Therefore, it needs to be liquid cooled and actually on chip cooling. Now, I think when we talk to the friends from AMD, Intel, they're all going down the same path. When it comes to accelerator computing, they would need liquid cooling because of the high density of the workload. So I think it's important that companies like YTL and along with our many friends in the industry are investing towards introducing new green capability, liquid cooling capability, and next generation water cooling facilities. Those are the key ingredients to enable the data center fabric to be robust and future-proof. Next is quantum. Now, quantum requires even higher level of cooling capability, so liquid cool is the way to go.
Thank you so much. I think we don't have time on our hands. So to wrap things up, what does future-proofing the NCCP look like? Keeping it relevant without rewriting it every few years. Maybe we can start with Adilah, then Suen, and then Wing. I would also like to get your insights and a quick 1-minute summary of your thoughts today to close it off as well.
I think before I talk about future-proofing the document, I did want to call out the point that the Honourable Prime Minister made yesterday, which is really the point of technology is using it. Technology existing on its own has no purpose, has no benefit. It's how we use it. So to that, one of the key things that is highlighted in the document that I'd love to really commend is the focus on developing the skills and capabilities, building the talent ecosystem to power Malaysia's full use of technology. And that takes me to how this can be a living document. So it's wonderful that the process of formulating the document was a consultative process, and that conversation continues as technology keeps on developing. So I think just keeping the conversation going and having these platforms to engage and a two-way conversation on the developments of technology and how Malaysia can benefit the most from it is the perfect way to keep this document alive.
Thank you. Now on to you, Suen.
Yeah, so I think it is great, that the intent of the National Cloud Computing Policy is for it to be a living, breathing document, right? The pace of technology is just moving so fast, and policy making has to find a way to be able to cope, with the pace of technology. So, like for example, a year ago, right, sovereign cloud was not even being discussed in any policy making, roundtables, dialogues, fora, etc. when it comes to cloud computing policy. And today, you see it as very much a very key part of cloud-first policies across the region. So in terms of what makes a good living, breathing document, I think it's very important to have, sort of core policy pillars, right, as well as module policies when it comes to the architecture of the policy design. The core itself should be principles-based, right? It should cast, a long-term view to provide long-term stability as well as confidence in a globalized world. And just like how Malaysia has Rukun Negara, for policies we should have like a Rukun technology, right? So it's like hard principles at the core of the policy. And then as for the sort of modules around this architecture, so very similar to like what we have as implementing regulation. These module policies should be written in a way that's that recognizes how agile technology moves, and it should be co-crafted together with technocrats, and technology experts, and should answer the how of the policy.
Thank you so much. Wing, on to you for your
Yeah, just a quick point. I think YB's vision is bold and encompassing, but at the same time, this document has the humility to recognize that technology always moves faster than any legal framework. Now, this is not a legal framework by any stretch of imagination, but having said that, the policy also has a direct impact in terms of how the execution flows. So I think it's important to recognize that technology moves very fast, and through the ongoing dialogue and engagement with the ministry, we'll continue to evergreen the document as a collaborative private-public sector effort. I want to make a quick point about inclusivity, because one of the key pillars of this cloud computing policy is about inclusivity. It's not just about guys like us. It's about the citizens enjoying the benefits of cloud. If you don't mind, YB, I just take 15 seconds to provide a quick example. We have 5G now, 82.4% population coverage with high-quality access. Kota Baru is near the Thai border for those that don't live in Malaysia. Foolishly, I thought I could drive there, and I found that it took 8 hours to drive there, so I will never do that again. But I went there to visit customers using our 5G service. And one of the customers is a Shopee seller. This lady, she's using, because there's a lot of herbs in the area, so you use those herbs to create perfume. And she's selling online through Shopee as a cloud service. She will never be able to set up shop throughout the nation to do that. Because of Shopee, they have access to the cloud platform. They were able to use Shopee to sell. And she makes 60,000 ringgit a month because she got good 5G connection. She can sell from her house with a nice ring light, and she starts selling. So YB, this is real. Cloud services, ladies and gentlemen, is real. It's touching lives, and we can uplift the country's economy because of that. Thank you very much, YB. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much. We've covered a lot in a short time. And if there's one takeaway, is the NCCP isn't just a policy, it's a call to action, and it will take collaboration between industry, government, and the public to make Malaysia a leader in the regional and global digital economy. Thank you to Suan, Wing, and Adilah for your insights, and to all of you for being part of this conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you to our distinguished moderator and panelists for that insightful discussion, short and sweet. Please kindly remain on the stage. As now, I kindly invite Yang Berhormat Minister of Digital, accompanied by Yang Berhormat Deputy Minister and Yang Berbahagia Secretary General of Minister of Digital, to come on stage and present the token of appreciation to our panelists and moderator. And now I invite Mr. Kamles Kumar, Associate Director and Head of Malaysia Office at Asia Growth Advisors, to receive the token of appreciation from Yang Berhormat Minister. Next, we have Ms. Sue Ann Lim, Director of Government Affairs and Public Policy for Google Cloud Asia Pacific. Mr. Wing K. Lee, Chief Executive Officer of YTL Communications. And Ms. Adilah Junid, Director of Legal and Government Affairs at Microsoft Malaysia. We will now have a group photo session with our panelists and moderator, with the Minister of Digital and Deputy Minister of Digital and Yang Berbahagia Secretary General Minister of Digital. Thank you once again, Yang Berhormat Minister of Digital and distinguished guests.